Major funding for KPBS Evening Edition has been made possible in part by Anderson Plumbing, Heating and Air, proud to support the mission of KPBS and privileged to serve San Diego clients. Anderson Plumbing, Heating and Air, helping homeowners maintain drain, heating, and cooling systems since 1978. And by the Conrad Prebys Foundation, Darlene Marco Shiley, and by the following. And by viewers like you. Thank you.
Good evening. It's Friday, July 9th. Thank you for joining us. I'm Maya C. From our reopening to a re-emerging uptick in local COVID-19 cases. Tonight, county officials are urging more people to get vaccinated, especially with more contagious variants arriving. The story now from KPBS health reporter Matt Hoffman.
The simple fact is, in order to slow the spread of COVID, we need people to get the vaccine.
A renewed call to action for the hundreds of thousands of eligible residents who still are not vaccinated.
I have heard so much about the hoaxes and the conspiracies. I had the virus myself, and it is not fun to get.
Data shows the more contagious Delta variant is the dominant strain statewide, but not in San Diego County. Officials are expecting that to rapidly change.
I think it will become our dominant variant within a couple of weeks. But the point isn't about the variant. The idea is the reason why it's spreading is there are unvaccinated individuals. If they get vaccinated, this won't be a problem.
A recent county analysis found some 140,000 San Diegans have skipped their second dose of the Moderna or Pfizer vaccines.
If you are in this group, make sure that you get your second vaccine so that you are fully protected.
Health officials say there is more and more data that shows just one shot does not protect against new, more contagious variants.
Ideally, you want to get it on time, but even if it's been a month, 2 months, 4 months since that first shot, getting that second shot, you don't have to restart, you just need to get that second shot. It's important because specifically for the Delta variant, one shot is not enough.
Drug maker Pfizer says it will seek approval for a third booster shot, but federal and county officials are saying hold on and want to see more evidence that it's truly necessary.
We need a lot more science. In fact, the recent announcement by Pfizer would like to see the data behind that.
Health officials say that East County and rural parts of North County are where vaccination rates are the lowest. Shots are still being offered at county clinics, pharmacies, and healthcare providers. Matt Hoffman, KPBS News.
And for more information about vaccinations and where to get one, you can visit our website, kpbs.org. We've made it easy to find with the vaccines link right there on our homepage. California is under a statewide flex alert right now. High temperatures are expected to drive high demand for electricity. KPBS reporter Melissa May with some do's and some don'ts while trying to keep you cool.
According to the National Oceanic Atmospheric Administration, 8 states, including California, saw their hottest June on record. July is keeping pace with high temperatures. The California Independent System Operator has issued a flex alert warning for 4 to 9 p.m. today, and the National Weather Service issued an excessive heat warning that will be in effect from 9 a.m. Saturday to 8 p.m. Monday in San Diego County's deserts. A heat advisory is also in effect until 8 p.m. Monday in the mountains.
You gotta find somewhere cool, so one of the places is here.
That place is the La Mesa Adult Enrichment Center, and San Diego resident Luis Milan is beating the heat without raising his own electric bill.
Let's come here, relax, socialize with my friends, and place gravel.
This, along with 10 other locations throughout San Diego County, are designated cool zones. These cool zones encourage lowering individual air conditioning usage and helping to conserve energy for the whole community. Milan is not a big fan of the heat.
When it gets hot, I get lethargic. I'm like, no, I don't want to do this, I don't want to do that.
When he's at home, he only runs a ceiling fan and does not even use his AC. Some tips to beat the heat that don't consume a lot of electricity include drinking lots of water, reducing physical activity, staying on the lowest floor of your residence, and keeping shades and blinds closed. Take a cold shower, and if it is safe to do so, leave your windows open at night. Melissa May, KPBS News.
With California facing a worsening drought, San Diego County may be in a position to help. Governor Gavin Newsom asked everyone to cut their water use by 15% as we expect state reservoirs to reach historic lows later this year. But the general manager of the San Diego County Water Authority says we have enough water to serve our region because of investments like the Carlsbad desalination plant and prior conservation efforts.
Any savings that we do would provide additional water into storage or an opportunity to assist the state in other areas where there are challenges.
Additional water savings might look like taking shorter showers, only running dishwashers when they're full, and watering the lawn less often. A group of doctors, nurses, and community members rallied outside of PALOMAR Medical Center in Escondido today. They continue to protest a new contract they say would give doctors less time with patients. But the hospital argues that that is not true. KPBS North County multimedia producer Alexander Nguyen has more.
Repeal or resign! Citizens to Save Palomar Health is composed of doctors, nurses, community members, and staff. They say the new contract with Emergent Medical Associates, or EMA, would impact patient care.
The bonds that they've made, for instance, with trauma, the trauma surgeons trust the physicians that they have right now, that when they are taking care of the medical part of their care, that their patients will have good outcomes. And I'm very concerned that those outcomes are not going to be good if you bring a whole new group of physicians in.
The group believes the primary motivation for changing providers is to save money, not to improve patient care. The group also claims there was a lack of transparency over the new contract. They allege board members may have violated the Brown Act by holding informal discussions.
The Brown Act forbids public agencies such as Palomar Health from such informal discussions. When asked about the allegations, Palomar Health officials refused to comment.
Ken Lounsbury is the lawyer for Citizens to Save Palomar. He sent a letter to Palomar Health's board warning them of the alleged Brown Act violation. He's asking the board to rescind the vote for the new contract.
It is a claim based upon facts provided to us that seriatim meetings took place, that meetings behind closed doors were conducted, that board members were convinced individually.
In an email to staff obtained by KPBS dated July 7th, Palomar Health CEO Diane Hansen says patient care is the top priority. Anything else to the contrary is false.
The hospital has also said any savings will pay for new equipment such as CT scanners and MRI machines. In Escondido, Alexander Nguyen, KPBS News.
Immigration and Customs Enforcement is out with new guidance discouraging detention of women who are known to be pregnant or who are nursing. The policy makes an exception for cases in which the individual is already detained and release is prohibited. It's the latest in a series of changes rising out of President Biden's executive orders meant to undo the Trump administration's more aggressive immigration policies. A judge has decided the victims of the Chabad of Poway shooting can sue the manufacturer of the AR-15 style used in the attack and the gun shop that sold it to the teenage gunman. One woman was killed and 3 other people were injured in the 2019 shooting. The judge found that victims and families proved that Smith & Wesson knew its semi-automatic rifle could be easily modified into an assault weapon in violation of state law. California is the first state in the nation to convene a statewide task force on reparations for African Americans. Race and equity reporter Christina Kim says community engagement is a key to their efforts.
Today, the task force grappled with how they will target their community engagement efforts. In other words, who must they talk to over the next 2 years as they come up with reparations proposals? Vice Chair Dr. Amos Brown says they must center Black Americans first and foremost.
The people who are the subject of the offense of racism and injustice are the community.
Lisa Holder is a task force member and a lawyer from Los Angeles. She agrees that Black Americans that are descendants from chattel slavery must be prioritized, but she thinks the work of the task force extends to everyone.
And I think it's very important to define the community broadly so that people feel involved in that healing process, so that as a broader multicultural community, we can come out of this restorative process more enlightened and prepared for true, authentic reconciliation.
San Diego City Council member Monica Montgomery Stepp is our local representative on the task force. She says task force members have to be on the same page about community engagement to make any of their proposals a reality.
Community is going to play a big role in getting whatever we present across the finish line.
Today, the task force made a small but important step regarding community input. They voted to move public comment to the beginning of all their future meetings and give speakers up to 3 minutes.
We're dealing with the people who have been excluded. So why do we have to be like the old system?
The task force is scheduled to meet again in September, where they will hear testimonies from both experts and community members, as well as public comment. Christina Kim, KPBS News.
A memorial art exhibit honoring Black people killed by police and in acts of racism opens this weekend outside of the new Children's Museum. KPBS reporter Alexandra Rangel gives us a look.
Here's George Floyd and Tamir Rice.
More than 200 Black lives lost to police brutality and racist acts. Those faces are now lined up and on display for people to reflect on. The Say Their Names memorial art installation was made possible by the efforts of Gaidi Finney. He's the executive director of the San Diego African American Museum of Fine Art. Finney hopes seeing these faces up and close will touch people like it did him.
And we want to use this as a teachable moment, to have community people talk back and forth to each other, to understand that this is not abstract. It's in all around us, inside of us, and we need to do something, really something, to make a change.
One of the names and faces locals might recognize when they come is Alfredo Longo, who was shot and killed by police in the city of El Cajon back in 2016.
Finney says seeing Longo's face helps bring it home that systemic racism is in our own backyard.
This is not abstract. This is not something that happens somewhere else, outside of yourself. No, it's deep inside all of us, all around you. And I want people to understand it's not abstract.
The free exhibit opens up Saturday and runs through July 25th. Alexandra Rangel, KPBS News.
I'm Judy Woodruff. Tonight on the NewsHour, Haiti in crisis. New details raise more questions about the assassination of the country's president. Coming up at 7 after Evening Edition on KPBS.
The Centers for Disease Control says in-person learning should be a priority for all schools this fall. In guidance released today, the CDC updated its COVID-19 suggestions, saying schools can remove some protocols based on local conditions. It suggests removing prevention strategies one at a time so it can be closely monitored to see if COVID cases increase. It also recommends promoting vaccinations for staff and students over the age of 12. Governor Newsom says California is anticipating a full return to in-person learning in the fall.
We're providing historic supports to make sure that's done safely and to make sure that all the resources are available for our kids to have that full enrichment, in-person instruction.
The California Public Health Department says it supports the new CDC guidance and will release more details about plans for schools in the coming days. Feeding children after the school year ends has long been a challenge. As Isabel Rosales reports, an expansion of pandemic aid will help more than 30 million kids this summer by getting families in need almost $400 per child.
When the school year ends, hunger begins for millions of kids.
Come slice it for me.
And this summer, the situation is even more dire as financially hard-hit families recover from the pandemic.
When I found out, that my job was gone, I immediately was like, how am I going to make ends meet?
Carla Stewart's family relied on the stimulus money to help cover rent on her D.C. home and other bills.
Oh my gosh, that was definitely needed.
She also used Pandemic Electronic Benefits Transfer, also known as PEBT, to put food on the table. Families that receive free or reduced school lunches were eligible.
It's a huge help to between bills just because, I mean, groceries are really expensive.
In an effort to reduce child hunger, the White House is expanding the school lunch program. Low-income families can receive $375 per child to buy food while their kids are out of school for roughly 10 weeks. Agriculture Secretary Tom Vilsack says fighting food insecurity now will have long-term impacts on children's lives.
They will be well nourished during the summer months, which means that they'll be prepared, their brains will be ready to learn, they'll be much better prepared to learn. And that's obviously going to pay huge dividends to the country because they will be more productive citizens as a result. So small price to pay for better health and better productivity from these youngsters.
The federally assisted program is part of the American Rescue Plan. So far, the USDA says nearly half of the states have applied and been approved for the aid. What your agency is doing to reach out to these states and make sure they use this free money?
We continue to make sure that the Departments of Human Services in the respective states are aware of the program, aware of the necessity of putting a plan together. We've streamlined the planning requirements to make it easier for them. I've talked to governors and will continue to talk to governors to encourage them to do this.
Critics argue the process is too slow at helping families like Carla's. She's thankful for the extra assistance and says having food in the fridge means her son Noah,
Optimus Prime, Bumblebee,
can focus on being a kid and not worrying about when he'll get his next meal.
So he doesn't worry about the pandemic that's around him. You know what I mean? Like, I don't want him to worry about eating, not eat. Like, that would be awful.
In Washington, Isabel Rosales.
Just as a recall effort was gaining momentum, Corey Schumacher is resigning from the Carlsbad City Council. In a written statement, Schumacher said she will be taking on an opportunity she simply cannot refuse and will be attending a university outside of San Diego. Prior to her resignation, Schumacher was facing a recall effort organized by Reform California. Carl DeMaio is the head of the organization and said constituents went to him for help in the recall efforts.
Well, I think Corey Schumacher saw the writing on the wall. We've had all of our volunteer signature gatherers out working for weeks, gathering signatures, and had already passed 4,500 signatures. We would have been able to qualify probably in the next 2 weeks easily. We only needed 3,700 signatures.
The resignation is effective immediately. No word yet on how her vacancy will be filled. Residents in parts of Northern California and Nevada still uneasy today after a powerful earthquake rocked the region. The 6.0 quake yesterday left behind plenty of visual evidence along with some 40 aftershocks. Reporter Brett Forrest has more from Reno.
The powerful earthquake shaking the region just before 4 p.m. Thursday afternoon. A Gardnerville gas station feeling the jolts.
I don't think that they knew until I said something. It's like, oh my God, and then they stopped because we were talking. And they looked, they said, oh my God, it's an earthquake. And then everybody that came in was in shock.
Its epicenter near Walker, California, south of Topaz Lake at the Nevada-California border. The tremors felt all the way to Reno, Tahoe, Sacramento, and the Bay Area.
It's really the largest earthquake in the region in about 25 years.
No major damage reported as of now, but rock slides triggered by the quake shut down portions of Highway 395 for well over an hour.
Wow, I don't know what's going on.
Oh, it's an earthquake.
Huh?
It was an earthquake. With an earthquake this big, dozens of magnitude 3 or larger aftershocks continued hitting the region into the night.
So we always want to let people know, like, look, we could have another large earthquake. So be earthquake aware, drop cover and hold on.
Serving as a good reminder to always be aware of what to do when a big quake or another disaster hits.
To have 3 to 5 days worth of food. Where are you going to meet your family if you can't get to your house? Always a good thing to think about now and not later.
It is another hot weekend for us, no escaping it as a high strengthens overhead. So this area of high pressure is going to intensify. It will ease into next week as more moisture and the jet stream dips a little farther south over some of the northwestern U.S. But until then, we do have heat advisories in the orange, excessive heat warnings in the red. We should be concerned with, again, monitoring our power usage, making sure others are staying cool and keeping that hot weather mentality in place. Notice tonight we've got 69 for the low in San Diego, still some clouds out there, and we'll be dealing with 72 in Mount Laguna. Venturing into this weekend, this is when the high is really intensifying. So this is going to be the peak of the heat throughout the weekend here as this high pressure system builds. Some of this will linger into Monday with the lasting effects of heat. So for San Diego, 78 the high heading into tomorrow, 77 in Oceanside. There's always a bit more comfort toward the coast, but once we get through the interior, Mount Laguna is headed to 80 degrees and Borrego Springs 116. Now it does come with some clouds out there, and there will be some moisture underneath this high pressure system, so I think some mountain cloud cover could be possible. I don't think it's enough though to squeeze out a thunderstorm. Notice Saturday Futurecast saying it's dry. There's some moisture well off to the northeast, but nothing really picking up on our Futurecast even in towards the start of Sunday. So again, mostly just the marine layer keeping the coast a little bit more comfortable. Doesn't last that long, which is why we're still going to make it to the mid 70s throughout the day. Then as we get through the interior locations, our inland cities, we are going to notice a much higher temperature, back to the mid 80s here, even in through Monday. So it is going to be a little bit hot. Mountain locations close to 80 degrees here as we head through Monday and Tuesday. I think for the later part of next week, Wednesday and beyond, that's when we get a bit of a reprieve in the heat. And that's probably best indicated on the desert forecast where we're in the 115 range and then ease off towards the 110 range heading into Wednesday. For KPBS News, I'm AccuWeather meteorologist Melissa Constanzer.
Another San Diego native helps make for a historic night at Petco Park. Take a listen.
Camarena to deep right field. Camarena plays it. Slam Diego. Are you kidding me?
Amazing. That is relief pitcher Daniel Camarena hitting a grand slam off potential Hall of Famer Max Scherzer of the Nationals. And get this, that is the Cathedral Catholic alum's first career hit last night. His family going nuts. You saw his dad in that video. He is only the second pitcher since 1898 to hit a grand slam for their first career hit. The Padres had been down 8-0 at one point, but rallied back with a walk-off hit by Trent Grisham to get that win. The Slam Diego Padres host the Rockies tonight, 7:10. Olympic organizers in Tokyo and those who will broadcast the games are taking another financial hit. SDSU's Miro Kopik looks at the impact of an Olympics without fans in our Friday Business Report.
It's going to be potentially very costly. The overall Olympic Organizing Committee has already spent over $15 billion in putting on these games. Of that $15 billion, another $3 billion has been added on for the delay from last year. So there's a lot at stake here. We know that now tickets are a lost cause. Over $1 billion in revenues is going to be refunded to over 4 million ticket holders. They paid anywhere, from $1,800 to $2,700 a ticket to attend these games. Japan is set to lose an additional $17 billion in foregone tourist revenue. And the risk is going to be with no fans, there may be some people that may not feel that the Olympics are worth it. The fact of the matter is if ratings are down below a certain average, these networks provide what we call make goods, which is, they're just going to give them more advertising for free to compensate for the loss of ratings.
And everything from flights, hotels, to car rentals are more expensive this summer. Mary Maloney shows us why the high prices are not keeping Americans at home.
Get ready for a pricey 2021 summer vacay. Experts tracking prices in several categories in the travel sector saying prices are soaring and breaking records.
Our weekend average daily rate right now in hotels are higher than what we've ever seen.
According to data from hotel research firm STR, prices for hotels are up 44% from last year.
This is actually led by hotels that are outside of the top 25 markets, which before the pandemic is not something that you would have expected or seen.
Amanda Height, president of the STR, says popular vacation destinations are seeing hotel prices already surpassing 2019 levels. STR looked at data comparing the week ending in June 26th to the same time 2 years ago and found that in Orlando, prices were up 6%, and in Miami, they jumped 48%.
Other markets like San Diego, Tampa, New Orleans are all back to average daily rate at the same level of 2019.
Getting to your destination will also cost more. According to the Consumer Price Index, airline tickets were 24% higher in May compared to the same month last year. And rental car prices seeing the most extreme price hike. They soared 110% from a year ago. According to the Consumer Price Index, prices are 70% higher than before the pandemic. For Consumer Watch, I'm Mary Maloney.
A 14-year-old girl from Louisiana made history, becoming the first African-American to win the Scripps National Spelling Bee.
Maria, Murraya.
That is correct.
Zaila Avantgarde correctly spelled the winning word Murraya, which, by the way, means it's a type of tree. She's taking home $50,000 after beating out 209 other competitors from 5 countries. As for her future, well, she hopes to play basketball at Harvard University. Then she's keeping her options open.
I'm thinking about maybe an NBA basketball coach, working for NASA, or maybe going into some treating diseases and stuff with the help of neuroscience. Or finally, ever since I learned a little bit about it and saw the 2 women who won Nobel Prizes for gene editing, I've been looking into that too.
Avantgarde also holds the Guinness World Record for most basketball bounce juggles in 1 minute, by the way. She is a remarkable young lady indeed. You can find tonight's stories on our website, kpbs.org. Thank you so much for joining us. I'm Maya Trabulsi. I hope you have a lovely weekend.
Major funding for KPBS Evening Edition has been made possible in part by Anderson Plumbing, Heating and Air, proud to support the mission of KPBS and privileged to serve San Diego clients. Anderson Plumbing, Heating and Air, helping homeowners maintain drain, heating, and cooling systems since 1978. And by the Conrad Prebys Foundation, Darlene Marcos Shiley. And by the following: and by viewers like you. Thank you.